Hello, everyone. This is Sonia Anubis, the guitarist from Crypta and Cobra Spell, and you're listening to the interview Under Fire.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Interview Under Fire. This is your host, Sunny, this time along with a rising and talented Dutch guitarist in the world of heavy metal, Sonia Anubis. Quite the honor. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today in IUF. Now, in case there are any listeners out there who don't know about my guest today, she is most previously known for playing in the Swiss heavy metal band Burning Witches before recently forming and joining a couple of other up-and-coming bands, such as the hard rock heavy metal band Cobra Spell and the extreme metal band Crypta. And Sonia, I just want to say congratulations on all of the well-deserved recognitions those two specific projects have been getting so far, especially with the new music recently from Cobra Spell and the new music coming out soon from Crypta, respectively. So much to unravel about this important yet exciting time in your life. But before we get to that, all that and beyond, we talked about it before the interview started. I'm going to ask a very important question to start things off. It's a simple one, but how are you? Considering what's been happening in our lives, how's life in Amsterdam right now? How have you been doing?
Very slow paced, actually, because of the pandemic. Everyone is inside and we have a curfew here. So it's been very slow paced, no concerts. I mean, throughout the whole world, we have this. And I've been just giving my guitar lessons, writing music, doing my thing. So I'm good. I'm enjoying my slow-paced time at home and just working forward with everything that I can do that is not a concert in a music field.
Yeah, making the best of the situation. Like I've said to all my guests, that's what we're doing right now. But let's wind the clock back here, Sonia, if you don't mind, which is funny because it's daylight savings in Amsterdam. Let's wind the clock back here. But if you don't mind revisiting that time in your life from when you first picked up that bass guitar at age 14, surrounded by the influential sounds of the legendary band Kiss and other artists, pretty much just rounding out to why you play guitar today. Was there a defining moment that you can think of where you knew what you wanted to do with your life?
Well, it was really when I became 14, indeed, as you said, that it was when all the music passion started, because before that I was really not that much into music. So it was when I saw Kiss in YouTube videos playing live in their early times. It was very inspiring because they looked so cool on stage. They were having so much energy, and the way the audience reacted to that, it was just a priceless. It just looks amazing to me, and I thought I want to experience this too as a musician. I want to be on stage and feel like they are feeling at least what I thought they were feeling, of course. And the only way to do that was, of course, to become a musician myself. And also because the music is amazing. I loved hard rock in the beginning. Of course, I've been developing a lot of a crazier taste later on, but hard rock was my first passion. I mean, bands like Alice Cooper, Wasp were those bands that really got me into it. And so I chose for the bass, firstly, because I thought Gene Simmons was a very cool showman and bass player.
Of course.
I saw he played like this crazy slides on the bass. When you slide a bass, it's totally different than the guitar. It sounds like more deep sounding and long. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. I want to do that. And when I had a bass for the first time, I could try it for the first time. This slide was like, wow, this is just amazing. I don't regret it at all.
Man, that's cool. So I wonder, like, your exposure to like just the hard rock scene, was it your friends who gave you that outlet? Was it your parents who like, hey, check this out? Or how did you how was it like, did you just sit down and like just started discovering things on the internet? Like, how did that even come about?
I had no friends or family at all that were into this style of music. So YouTube was my best friend as it comes to this kind of music.
I can relate to that.
I was just nerding out on YouTube, finding a lot of different videos, live obscure videos of Kiss, because I was just extremely obsessed with the band. Every single footage, I just wanted to see it. And from there, I developed every time a little bit more extreme taste, to the point that I discovered bands such as Megadeth and Anthrax, the big four of thrash metal.
Of course.
which really got me into the more heavier side of music, because I thought hard rock was heavy. I thought that was the heaviest thing that existed, because I didn't know the existence of metal. So bands such as Metallica, and I started really getting into Megadeth as the one of the bands that I really got obsessed with. And that made me think, oh, actually, I'm kind of limited as a bass player, because I cannot play those very cool solos that I hear on the Megadeth songs. So I'll have to just pick up the guitar this time then. So I started additionally playing the guitar too. And this is kind of how it went. And I've actually always been mainly a bass player until the last 3 years or 4 years, when
Right.
I joined Burning Witches. That's the first actual band where I got to be a real guitarist in a band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you also mentioned how the okay, now correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Hangar 18. Is that the song that really
Oh, yes.
had that crazy, I mean Hangar 18 is a classic, but knowing that that actually influenced someone like you to pick up the guitar, I think that just shows how much of an impact just one song can have on a person. And now here you are
Right.
today doing what you do. Now, being away from the stage a lot as of late, I know we talked about your upbringings, but how are you keeping up your guitar chops these days? Also, your vocals. I know you sing. I know you don't sing as much in public, but how is that affecting your musicianship? Has anything changed for your routine wise lately, if at all? And we can date it back from last March when the pandemic
Yeah.
first came into the scene. I don't know about you, but I was at a concert every week before this whole shutdown
Yeah.
happened, and it's been almost a year removed from the whole experience. But how have you been lately as far as like the musician side of things? Like, how are you keeping everything up?
Actually,
Yeah.
I've been staying very busy anyway. So I
Hmm.
thought maybe in the pandemic, I hear a lot of stories of people that they don't know what to do with their time. And I'm like, oh, I have trouble finding time to do everything I want to do. But sorry, what was the question?
Oh, no. It's like, as far as, because we're talking about what you're doing to stay busy nowadays,
Uh-huh.
because it's easy for a musician to, because the live concert experience is that's what makes it what heavy metal is. But
Right.
now we're
Uh-huh.
home.
Yes. So I got to find a lot more of structure, because I'm so on my own here that I really I have a blank mind, and it feels like there is not a lot of traveling that I have to think about. I'm just at home. I can put it in my agenda what things I have to do. I have to do them all at home, so it's easy for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I got to practice a lot. I have a daily schedule of practice, and it's all. I'm a very planner person, so I have a to-do list for myself that I have to keep up. So I love living in this way.
Yeah, I don't know about you. Like when the first pandemic first hit, the first couple of months, I was thinking to myself, this is great. I get to stay home and I get to catch up on all the things I missed. I can clean this, fix this around the
Yeah.
house. But then like after like 3-4 months, I'm like, oh no, I need to figure out what else I have to do with my life. I can't just
Yeah.
be lazy, which was fun. I'm not saying being
Yeah.
lazy isn't fun. It's fun sometimes, but you have to be productive. And speaking of productive, it hasn't even been 10 years for you yet into this profession of yours. And, whether it's with Burning Witches or I want to mention Dimension, Ecocide, Shade
Oh,
of
that's far away.
Hatred, Sephiroth, we could even, that list goes
Yeah,
on for everything
so
else
many
even
bands.
involved. But I wanted to ask, Sonia, how was the touring life for you personally? Because you've already done some extensive touring throughout your career already. You've played at Vakken, you played at Obscene Extreme, Summer Breeze, Bang Your Head. And now we've all been taking an unexpected step back. And does it make you have a growing appreciation of the touring life?
Oh, I definitely love touring, and concerts is my favorite part about being a musician, because that's the main reason why I wanted to become a musician, is to have the feeling of playing in front of an audience and interchange of energy. I that's the thing that I live for, actually. That's what I'm working towards to, actually. And all the work that I'm doing in the pandemic right now is just writing music, practicing, just to be ready for when that moment comes that I will be able to get on stage. So touring is such an important thing about being a musician, and I definitely miss it. I definitely miss it. It's my favorite thing, but I'm sure it's gonna happen a lot with these new bands that I am in. Yeah.
Yeah. And, there's always different things that you kind of recall when now that we're home. It's like, because what makes touring amazing, it could be either the food or the culture or the fans. There's so many things to make touring what it is. Just the lifestyle of traveling the world and playing the music that you love. So let me ask you this, Sonia, with the amount of experience you've taken in throughout your career, the bands that you played with, the musicians you've collaborated with, the fans you've met, you've seen this for the last year. A lot of bands have been doing it is live streaming. So a lot
Yeah.
of the bands, what they do, they're taking on the stage. Like usually this interview would be in person, but now with the whole situation,
Yeah.
we're doing what we're doing. But we've had bands like August Burns Red on the show. We've had bands like Insomnia, Lamb of God, and they talked about their live experience on how they did it. You know, Behemoth did it as well. There's a few more coming out in the next couple of weeks. But I want to round it out to this question is, do you think that the quarantined induced live streaming surge we're seeing right now from all these bands and artists, musicians, is that going to affect the touring musician business going forward through your eyes? Like, do you still see bands, I don't know, doing something like this even after all this is over?
Oh, actually, not at all.
Mm,
Honestly, the feeling is completely different. People go to a live show to see people, to see the band. You know, definitely to go see the band, but
of course,
also it's like a social, a way to go out. You know, some people go out to the I don't
clubs
know,
or bars,
yeah, to
whatever,
the
whatever it
club,
is. Yeah,
or
yeah.
they go there's a lot of different places to go out, and people that like music, they go to concerts, and that's definitely my way to go out, was to go to a concert and see a band and see my friends
Mm-hmm.
and talk about anything. So I think this is something extremely valuable. We, as people, we really need social contact. I think that's something we need, and that's why we cannot compare it with a live stream, because then you're just on your own at home watching a band, which can be very cool because it's the same feeling as watching a video on YouTube,
Yeah,
but
you
it's
can
not the same
mosh in
as
your own
like,
room if you want, right? But how much longer can you
yeah.
do it for?
Yeah, but it's not the same as going to a live concert and seeing the actual musician in front of you, physically in front of you, performing and feeling the decibels, and yeah, the
the
whole
the
vibe, the
atmosphere,
smell of
yeah.
the concert, the smell of beer, and the smell of sweat, and that's something you cannot experience that on a live stream.
No, no, definitely not. And I remember that. I'll tell you what I did last summer. This is my first time I ever did this, so I don't know if maybe I'll do it again. But a friend of mine I don't know if you knew about this. So Metallica did this live streaming event just for one weekend here in the States. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
around August, and a friend of mine here, he had an extra ticket. Dallas sold out immediately, just like that.
Wow.
I've never been to a Metallica concert. I know it's weird coming from someone like me. This is my first ever Metallica like concert event, and I went there, and it was just packed. Like here in Texas, it was in like it was like at a drive-in, like a theater, outdoor theater, and it was just cars that were packed, and it was crazy. Like, I mean, the turnout was great. It felt like a festival. It felt like a show. And what's the most popular thing we hear at a metal show? Hey, let me see those horns, right? And you see just a sea of horns, fans doing this, and you
Right.
get that
Yeah.
adrenaline rush in your body, those goosebumps. So instead, what do we get? 3 days grace open, right? So they're like, hey, let me hear you honk your horns. So if you roll your window down, you just hear cars honking this in silence.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unique the way different ways to look at it, but it made me
Oh, the
miss.
drive-in, that's something I haven't seen
Yeah,
before.
it's
Yeah.
I also think Beyond the Black did it. Jennifer Hubin did something like that. I,
Crazy.
I
I,
remember they
I
did.
like that idea though. It's not
It's
the same as the show,
no,
but it's
obviously not, but it
it's a
it
lot
just
closer than a live stream,
very
at
true.
least
And
in
it
my
did
opinion.
it did make
Yeah.
me miss the live experience even more. I'm like, man, if you would have told me I'd be seeing Metallica during a pandemic like 2 or 3 years ago, I'd be thinking you're crazy. But here I am doing what
But
I'm doing.
I do think it's a very good idea though. Still, what
Mhm.
can you do in such a difficult time where bands cannot perform? Well, it's a good way to still, as band, perform and promote yourself and stay out there. It's a way to keep on going
Right.
as band. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that, and it's a way for fans to still have a little bit of the feeling of the bands is not stopping, or it's that. I don't know how to explain it. It's
No,
like
no,
it's
no,
football,
yeah, I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying, and there's no right or wrong answer to what you just said because I've had so many talented musicians like yourself on the show, and they said different things. They're like, "Oh yeah, I would love to do live streaming. It still allows me a chance to engage to my fans." And some artists would say, "Oh, I'm not doing anything until all this is over." So there's always that uncertainty going forward. But here in Texas, they open things back up, so I'm actually kind of nervous because
Ooh.
we may expect another rise in like the cases here in a couple weeks. So, I mean, they're still doing social distancing shows and stuff like that, but still, at a heavy metal show, everybody's just clumped up together, and
Yeah, I can imagine.
that's what makes it stand out from any other genres out there.
Yeah,
Now, something I do want to talk about that you talked about that you've been busy with, you're also a YouTube content creator. You've built such a
that's true. That's
strong
true.
community amongst your fans and followers with the creative videos you put out. You also have a Patreon where you let the followers and supporters take a deep dive with you and see what you have been working on behind the scenes and everything that you do. How has that helped you get through this time as well? Because you talked about guitar lessons. You also have web developer. You do coding when not playing music, but
Not anymore though.
okay.
Well, I
So
actually am. Actually, I'm right now, but yeah.
okay. You have been staying busy with that as well. But what I want to talk about is, has this pandemic, has it opened up new things for you personally and artistically that you may have not known before about yourself?
Well, since I'm a very busy person as it comes from music, I've only been doing music stuff.
Yeah.
So everything that is artistic for me, I discover in the field of music. As of recently, I've been singing a lot, recording my own vocals.
Yeah,
I know
I
it sounds
mentioned that
crazy
earlier.
coming from a guitarist.
Not
Yeah,
crazy at all. I think that's great.
I just love singing a lot because when I write my own solos, I actually firstly sing them and then I play them because that's my approach to get melodies. So yeah, I thought recording myself would be fun, and I also really enjoy coming up with harmonies, and also playing with synthesizers is something I really enjoy doing at home and just for my own pleasure. So yeah, those are some things that I've been enjoying to do. And aside of that, I'm just writing a lot of music and having a lot of ideas, and who knows if it's ever gonna be brought out, because unfortunately sometimes the music doesn't fit in any of the bands that I play in. So it's like, oh, I'm making it and then I don't know what to do with it, so it stays in my computer for forever.
Yeah,
But it's fun. It's fun though.
so that would make sense to put your stuff out there on YouTube and Patreon to actually, you have an
Yeah,
outlet for your
eventually.
music and people can see a different side of you, the fans. So I think that's
Oh,
amazing. I think continue to do what you do because it shows, it really rounds out the individual, the musician to who they are today. I know we talked about everything from head to toe. Let's talk about these new bands, Cobra Spell and Crypta. Now, I see some, I think bass guitars or guitars behind you. Do you have the Raven Warrior or the Raven Warrior Commander in Chief with you by any
oh
chance?
my God. Yeah, I have, let me see. Actually,
No,
I
those
have
are some
something
of
very
your,
important to
there you
show
go.
you. This is my first bass ever, actually. I have it
Oh
right
my
here.
gosh. When did you
I
get
got
that?
it. I got it as a gift for my birthday. So it's like, this is the real first
So
instrument for
this
me
is,
that
so you just kept
got
it
me
just for,
playing.
you kept it just for yourself or as like a,
Yeah,
like
but
a, as
it's a little bit mistreated though. It doesn't have any
that's
electronics
okay. I think it
cavity
shows,
anymore.
kind of shows where you came from, like, hey, this is where I started and this is
And
where
this
I am
is
right now. And
my
then,
main
yeah, there we
machine,
go. That's a Jackson. I know you love the Jackson.
the
That's like
Raven
your
Board.
go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a
So
beautiful guitar.
this
So
one I really love.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to see that in like, just, I
And
know
you
not
can
in
see
person, but
it's so used. You can see that here. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
made
Wow.
with the hand. Yeah, I love it. I am very happy of Jackson and their Raven warrior. So all the
Yeah.
warrior guitars, I'm just very obsessed with it. I could go on talking about it for hours. I
And
don't want to bother you with
no,
that.
no, no. I would love to talk about it as much as I can. Obviously, if there ever comes a time we get to do this interview in person here in the States, we'll get to that definitely because I know how much those guitars mean so much to you. It's like your touring buddies, that's, you can't go on without it. So
Yeah.
so anyway, what I want to talk about is Cobra Spell, which is a heavy metal hard rock band which was formed by you and your boyfriend Sebastian Silva, who also
That's
plays
true.
guitar, and Sebastian, he plays in bands in like Lucifer's Child, Silver Talon, Idle Hands, Leather Bitch, just to name a few. Talk about him. I'm sure there's a sense of comfortability in the studio for you, knowing that Sebastian is in the same band for you, with you, as it feels like the chemistry just clicks once the amps are plugged in,
It's
right?
just amazing. It's just amazing. The connection, not just because we are boyfriend, girlfriend, but we are very similar taste and we can understand each other very easily when it comes to making music. And he is kind of the same person as I am when it comes to being a musician. He's really outspoken, and he shows his emotions very well. I'm that kind of person too.
That's good. It kind
So
of cancels each other out.
yeah, we are super like moving around, and yeah, that's a very nice connection that I really like. And I thought, okay, we have to really make a band out of this. So that we had that idea 2 years ago, I think already. It's been a while. Um, and yeah, so then we started writing music in a very slow pace because I had my own band and he is in his own band.
Of
You said
course.
Idle Hands, right now they called Unto Others.
Unto Others. Okay.
Yeah, that's their
I
new
had no
name.
idea.
No, but they're doing insanely good. They have a lot of awesome things going on,
Yeah.
and I'm very happy for them, and I'm super happy to be working with my boyfriend and awesome band members in Cobra Spell.
Yeah, and people who don't know, Cobra Spell also released that Love Venom EP that came out September.
It
Was
came
it?
out in September,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
and
and I was gonna say it reminded me of bands like when I heard that EP, it reminded me of bands like Wasp and Quiet Riot, Striker,
oh yeah,
just a few of that. You know,
no,
I
yeah.
wonder. I'm sure the recording and writing process, it was easy for you, like as far as like coming together and writing music. I don't know. Did you write it during the pandemic? Was it before the pandemic? Like how did that even
Well,
come about?
so how music in Cobra Spell is written?
Mm-hmm.
This was written right exactly before the pandemic, but recorded during the pandemic. I write all the compositions, and my boyfriend writes all the lyrics. So that's the way we work in this, and this is we found the ideal way of doing this. And yeah, this is for us. The EP was like try out to see if it really worked, if the
Oh,
sound
it
vibe
worked. Trust me.
really working, and now I feel very confident. So we already have the whole album finished that's coming next. And we just have to get the demos and make the demos and everything. And I think it's only about to get better.
So, how much can you tell me about that upcoming release? I know I probably have to keep it on the down low, I
So
guess.
that's gonna for Cover Spot, it's gonna take a while because we are just finished with writing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of still to do. We have to work on the demos and everything. So I cannot say much yet
That's
because
okay.
it's gonna
That's okay. That
it
just
might be this year, it might be the next one. Even though with Crypta, we are actually very close to coming with the first single, which is gonna be announced maybe tomorrow.
Oh my
But,
gosh. Okay. Now, having said that,
but I cannot say much yet.
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Recently formed Crypta, which is, old school death metal sounding band. And the formation technically began back in the 2018 tour when you were with Burning Witches. You guys were touring with Nervosa, and you and the members of Nervosa at that time kept in touch. Was it Fernanda Lira and Luana Demeto, right? And
Yes, we
yeah,
saw
so
it.
talk
Yeah.
about how that finally rounded up into what is now Crypta, and what is it like the relationship you have with those girls?
Well, it was like the way that the band started is Fernanda and Luana wanted to start a new project,
Mm-hmm.
and we were all in our own band still. And yeah, so we thought, okay, we need a new side project, and in the style a little bit of death metal. I thought, okay, I'm interested, and I was actually very honored to be invited in such a project, because I looked up to the girls of Nervosa a lot. So yeah, from there we started writing together in a very slow pace, and yeah, that's kind of how it went. And then we thought, okay, maybe a second guitarist would be cool, and that's how Taina entered the band.
Right.
And yeah, we have taken everything in our own pace. So at the end we finally got the album finished over a half year ago or something like that. And then we have been in the studio beginning of this year, actually in January, yes, where I had to fly to Brazil. So I've been traveling still in this pandemic. And we have been at the studio, recorded everything, and it's delivered to the label now. So everything is just about to come. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about Napalm, because Napalm Records, that's who you're signed with. What is it like signing with such a noteworthy label like Napalm Records? Because we've interviewed so many Napalm artists already. Like, what is it like?
It's an absolute honor, honestly. I mean, for a band that is new,
Mm-hmm.
I it's something awesome, because you don't expect that a label finally has interest in a band that doesn't have released any music yet. So the trust that they put on us is something very valuable for us, because a label can help us a lot to become a lot bigger band and tour around and get our music distributed throughout the world. So it means a lot to us.
Yeah, and you have a few studio session clips out now on YouTube, and
Yeah.
I urge the fans to really check that out, because that's I mean, a taste of things to come. That's exactly
Right.
what you want to hear. And
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, I'm just a fan out of millions, but I'm excited to hear, just there's a lot of good things coming up for you. It's nice to have things like that to look forward to. So
Yeah, and there's so many things that I can't share yet. It's so frustrating. But I'm waiting for the moment that I
that's a
can
good
share.
thing. That's a good
But
thing.
maybe,
Now,
yeah.
with these albums that you're working on, you've done a couple, a couple albums with Burning Witch as well. You have that new Cobra Spell EP. Do you ever see your albums, Sonia, as or singles as snapshots of where you are in a certain time in your life looking back?
How do you mean?
Like, let's say you put on an album, and then when you look back on it, it's like, okay, this album summed up a chapter in my life that I can look back on. Like,
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
I see it more like in bands that I was in. This was the chapter when I was in a lot of death metal bands as bass player. I had that chapter, and then I had the Burning Witches chapter. And yeah, I kind of see it like chapters, but it's I never look at it back with any regret or anything. I
Mhm.
actually look at it back, that's how it should have been, because otherwise I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I am thankful that I've had um so far the musical chances that I've had.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, having said that, you also mentioned this a few times, is that how you describe yourself as an edgy person, and attitude is something that is very important to you, which I love. I think it's great. And you give guitar lessons at the same time, being young, being a woman, let alone in a genre where the male is the dominant entity. Of course, there are up and coming female artists coming up in heavy metal, which is great. What advice would you have for someone wanting to follow in your footsteps, especially, younger girls of this generation?
To just follow your feeling and do whatever pleases you.
Yeah.
Something that I have a hard time with when I was starting is um, caring too much about what other voices would say, what other people had to say about it. Oh, you don't have to do music because that won't get you far. This kind of um, they don't these voices don't help to become you a better person. So
Yeah.
I would say just keep working on your dream. Schedule yourself some practice. Give yourself some free time and enjoy, and do it out of your passion, not because someone says you to do so. And yeah, I, I know it's a little bit hard to say. I always
That's
have a
okay,
hard
because
time.
I mean, that serves as an answer, because I think it's an important one, because you're already making a lot of um you're making just a big positive impact in the metal community already, with the fans and followers, especially with the Patreon,
I think it's the best to
the
follow the
bands that you've
feeling,
been with. Yeah.
follow your intuition, and as a musician, and be sure that you're really doing what you like, because I know a lot of people choose because they feel peer pressure of wanting to um, deliver something good, deliver as a being a good musician. I don't know if this is makes sense.
It makes sense.
And yeah, so make what your heart asks you. So if you want to make death metal, then make death metal, even if it's not the most known genre. Just do it because
Yeah.
it makes you happy, and that's what I would like to share.
Hey, we are metalheads because we're not here to be famous. We're here because we love to do what we love to do. We have a
Yeah,
passion for what we
exactly.
do. And
Right.
I'm
And that's
gonna
what will get you far, because if you
yeah.
put passion on your music, that's art. When you don't put passion on your music, that won't be art. It will just be work, in my opinion. So yeah, that's why I might have been changing a lot of bands in the past, because I didn't feel, oh, this is not the Sonia I want to be yet. So I
Yeah.
had to change and then find my own place where I did feel like, okay, here I can deliver my art in a way that I'm proud of it. So that's kind of the advice.
Yeah. Now I want to throw a few names at you. I know they mean a lot to you, these names. Okay. Tony McAlpine,
Oh,
Ingrid
hell yeah.
Malmsteen, Marty Friedman, Akira Tagasaki, Jason Becker, Ace Frehley,
Ooh.
all those guitarists. You mentioned your 10 favorite guitarists, and for people who don't know, that list that I just called out, that's the majority of that list. Now, here's the thing about these guitarists: they left a legacy for a lot of people after them. The generation after them, especially for people like you. Has that ever crossed your mind? Is leaving a legacy something that's important to you? Like, is that something you want to carry over into the next generation of musicians?
My goal as a musician is to make people happy
Mm-hmm.
and to inspire people to also feel the joy of music. That's actually my goal. It sounds weird because I'm actually a musician to please others, maybe, which is something
Not at
that
all.
kind of
That
contradicts
does not sound weird at all. I totally get
my
it.
way
Yeah.
of living. But it's what makes me happy is someone seeing people happy about music, and it means a lot to me. Um, so if I ever die and people remember me, I never really actually thought about it.
That and
I don't want to think
that's
about
okay.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, because
But
I don't mean to interrupt you there, but I was going to say like all these musicians that those amazing
I mean,
guitarists
they
who
never
just
died. They,
yeah
I'm already
there's
thinking,
that.
I'm already thinking so much in forward. But yeah, they left. They're leaving a legacy. A lot of
Yeah.
them. I mean, yeah, and I never know if I will ever be good enough to do what they did, because what they did is just something so amazing in my eyes. I cannot compare to any of those, and I wouldn't want to be compared because I'm Sonia Anubis, and they are who they are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be the person I want to be. I want to be the musician that I want to become, which is finding my own sound. And yeah, so that's my goal, and I hope it makes people happy. That's all.
Yeah. Have you ever had a chance to shred with Tony McAlpine yet?
Ooh, I cannot talk about that yet, but maybe it might happen in the future.
Okay, fingers crossed for that one, because that is something I mean, that is something to behold, because I know how much you look up to him, and that would make a really great duo. Just kind of just completing the circle.
It would be
Anyway,
awesome.
we could talk about forever on those other guitarists, David Davidson and Greg Howler, a few of the others,
Oh,
Michael
awesome.
Romeo.
Yeah.
Now, from the different experiences and perspectives in your timeline that you have taken in, which we have discussed about so far, whether it's starting in this journey from age 14, playing in notable festivals like Wacken or Obscene Extreme, forming Cobra Spell, Crypta, playing in Burning Witches, the endorsements you have with freaking Jackson guitars, EMG pickups, D'Addario, EVH, the guitar lessons that you give to your followers and the people who you influence. And lastly, the bond you have formed with your dedicated and growing fan base. Sonia, you're only 22, but you've experienced so much in so little time in your career already. Have your
It
think
almost
about
makes me emotional.
well think about this for a second, because I'm running out to this question. Have your aspirations as a person or an artist, have they changed or evolved since when you first started playing in the industry? Like, do you see
Oh, they
things
really have.
differently now?
They really have, because as crazy as it might sound, I thought the dreams that I had were impossible to reach. I thought being a musician on top of a stage was already a very big dream that I had, that I didn't know if it would ever happen. And I was on stage like, "Whoa, this is real! It's
You
real
played at
happening!"
Wacken. I mean,
And then yeah, and that was
that's like
one of my
bucket list
dreams
stuff.
too. That was one of my dreams too. I remember being in Dimension, the band that you named, which was my first metal band ever, and we were talking about, oh, imagine we're gonna play ever in Wacken. Oh yeah, we're gonna make that happen. Yeah, we're gonna play there, and we're gonna play in the main stage. And then, yes, years ago, later, I got to have the chance to play in Wacken, and that was something I never expected would happen in such a short time. It was like just close eyes, open eyes, and I'm like, in Wacken, I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. And now I have to think about the next achievement, and yeah, that keeps me going. That
Yeah.
keeps me going. I have so many dreams, and sometimes I'm the kind of person that is not gonna say, oh, it's impossible, I'm not gonna do it. I always have very realistic dreams. I still have the dream that I'm ever gonna play with Kiss, even though I never know if that's gonna be possible, but I'm still believing it will happen. And I think that power of believing that it's gonna happen got me to where I'm at. That because I don't believe something is impossible.
Yeah, that's the approach you got to take to everything in life, and it's easier said than done. You can just I think it's easy because the more successful you are, and I don't speak for everybody, but I feel like because I've had friends who are musicians who've been successful. My mom's a
Yeah,
music artist, so she's a singer. So I think
yeah,
it's easy to lose track of yourself the more successful you are. It's important to just kind of just push everything back and kind of just take a look at it from the outside and just just exhale and then go back in, with the mindset that kind of, it's important to refocus because you've been busy,
Right.
Sonia. That's the whole point of this. And now it's
Yeah,
just,
I'm just extremely thankful that I have been able to experience so many great things and being part of so many concerts and bands, and it just makes me a very happy person.
yeah. And I know we got just a few minutes left here, but I'm gonna leave something off with a fun topic here. I know you did talk about your favorite albums. Sometimes you mentioned two horror movies, which is The Shining, which I love,
Oh,
and
hell
It
yeah.
Follows. And you mentioned like horror movies, so usually I ask my guests like, hey, what are your top 5 favorite albums or music? But what are your top 5 favorite movies? And if you want to talk about the horror genre, you can, but from the top of your head, Sonia.
So movies that are not horror,
Okay.
right?
Okay. It didn't have to be
All right,
horror. It can be
that's
whatever.
a very good question, but I am so much into horror and crime that I only watch horror and crime
Yeah, that's
movies.
fine. So having said that, so
Yeah, but it
what are the
follows
top 5? What are the top
it,
5 you can think of?
the top five. Oh, that's a hard one because I
If you
have
can do top 10, that'll be great. But top 5, I don't want to put you on the. I don't
oh,
want
I
to
really
give.
would have to think about that. So I have The Shining, It Follows. I have some series that I really like, but I would really have to look it up because
That's okay.
I always have an extremely hard time making choices just out of the blue. I would feel like, oh no, it's not fair that I have to make a choice. Yeah.
No, that's okay. I think that just shows that you're gonna have to like sit down. And I have a ton of movies in the corner of my room, which
Cool.
it's because I went to film school for 3 years. So like now
Yeah.
when you talked about horror, and my favorite director is one of my favorite directors are Guillermo del Toro, and then
Ah,
I got to
cool.
meet him, and he got to tell me about his movies, how he liked to, the way he directed and everything else in between that rounds up to movies. But anyway, like I think
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool
I
just
mean, there are so many that I can name, Reanimator, From Beyond,
oh
those
wow.
very like old school horror
I
movies that I really like, but there's so many that I just feel like it's unfair to put them in order, and I will never do that.
no, that's okay. That's okay.
I
Maybe
always look back to my videos where I made like top 10 favorite albums, and then a year later I totally disagreed with the
it
order that I
changes,
put it
right?
in.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm
it
like,
changes
oh
over
god
time.
damn it,
Yeah.
I'll have to delete that video because it doesn't make sense anymore.
No, I think you should leave it up. Just it shows the growth in your just like
Yeah.
what your interests are. And I think it's a really cool way to look at your timeline from when you first started to where you are now. But Sonia, this has been such an honor. Do you have any last words, any shout outs, anything you'd like to plug in or mention as far as Crypta or Cobra Spell, your Patreon, or anything else in between for your fans and anyone who's listening?
Well, firstly, I would like to thank you very much for inviting me to the interview and for awesome questions. I loved it. And for every single listener out there, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, so with Crypta, I'm releasing a new album very soon. So I will just stay tuned to the social channels, Crypta Death, and to with Cobra Spell because we have a lot of new things coming up in the future too.
Right.
And if you want to stay tuned to everything that I do as a musician myself, well, my name is Sonia Anubis, and you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Do you have
And
this? Do you have the Anubis? Or you don't? Okay, I just saw your hand because
I
usually you
only
draw it
do
on
it.
there.
It's a ritual. It's a very important
Yeah,
concert
yeah,
ritual.
yeah. And hopefully you get to do that soon. That's I think
Yeah.
that's something that you take.
And yes, so I give guitar lessons. So if everyone is interested in sharing the joy of the guitar with me, feel free to hit me up with that. And yeah, so thank you very much, everyone.
Everyone who's listening, this is the talented Sonia Anubis. She's gonna pave the way in the heavy metal world. And please give her a follow on all the social links. Follow Crypta, follow Cobra Spell. And when the new music is out, see if you can buy the album because the artist can't do it without your help. And make sure to follow her like on the social links, like she just mentioned. Sonia Anubis, you stay safe out there in Amsterdam, and hopefully we'll see you here in the States sooner than later here in
Oh,
Texas.
I wish.
And we will, trust me. That will happen. And don't forget, you can listen to this podcast on any major podcast stream out there. Check us out on interviewunderfire.com. I'll talk to you next time, Sonia. You be safe, all right?
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Interview Under Fire podcast. If you guys liked what you heard, please subscribe and share our channel. And please leave a 5-star review, as that helps us tremendously. If you'd like to check out more, visit www.interviewunderfire.com or our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And finally, we want to thank you all for the support you've been giving us. Keep it burning.